Last year at this time, we had not one but two, count them, two Aztecs who'd made noise in the rarefied world of pro golf. Talking, of course, about golfers Xander Schaufelle and J.J. Spaun. Xander coming off a championship at the 2024 Open, golf's oldest championship. Spaun seemingly coming from out of nowhere to win last year's U.S. Open. Well, this year, no majors between them so far. So the next best thing is X talking this year about that big win on the old sod in the 152nd Open Championship of Golf. He met with the media before the 2026 edition of the tournament. He had some interesting insight of interest to Aztecs and San Diegans, which we are here at Aztecs All In, of course. Steve Perez and new co-host to introduce to the world momentarily, where we are, of course, all in on San Diego State University Aztec Athletics. We got 100-plus episodes, including many formative ones out of fellow football season ticket holder Louis Weiner. We thank him for his service to the cause. Plus, he swears he is still up for some of the posts on X, so he's got that going for him. But this being a what have you done lately kind of world, we welcome one Mr. Randy Scovil, also an Aztec alum, a media type with some on-air play-by-play experience up the coast in San Luis Obispo, and most recently doing some Aztecs play-by-play for the Mountain West in baseball, soccer, lacrosse, some other colleges around town as well. He's also an all-around smarty face who teaches on the collegiate level, including at San Diego State, in the field of computer science. Also happens to have some familial connections to the world of college football. But right now, why don't we officially extend a warm welcome and official Aztecs All In hello to Randy Scovil. So, how's it going there, Randy?
It's going pretty good. It's great to be working with you again. Great to be involved once more with Aztec sports and all the local universities, really. Looking forward to talking some Aztec football, of course. And in a little bit, we'll also talk about the first Aztec team up this year, and that's women's soccer.
All right. Very much looking forward to hearing more of your insights and keenly smart rhetoric for the vast global audience that comprises Aztecs All In. But what do you say we get into this mid-July edition, where we will bring you updates from the aforementioned pro golfers, and we'll tip the Aztecs hat to the scholarly aspect of Aztec athletics. Record number of student athletes earning scholar athlete honors, and while doing that, revisit a very special Aztec in the world of track and field, who not only competed at a high level, but excelled in the classroom as well. So how about we get to it, D? As mentioned, two proud former Aztecs making noise at the Open Championship recently concluded at Royal Birkdale. Xander Schaufelle, J.J. Spaun both made the cut of golf's oldest championship. They competed through the weekend, one of golf's biggest stages in the world. Schaufelle, defending champion from 2024, and his former Aztec teammate Austin Kaiser on the bag continue to represent San Diego State University at the highest level. Spaun, a steady performer on the PGA Tour as well. Xander wasn't that far off the lead going into the weekend, but wasn't his year. Still finished in the top 20, tied for 18th. JJ also making the cut, finishing in a six-way tie for 40th, both taking home some decent-sized paychecks by virtue of their performances. Spaun has a win this season at the Valero Texas Open, his third career win. The LA native ranked 20th in the FedEx Cup rankings, 13th in the world. The Open won in dramatic fashion by Ryan Fox of New Zealand, who drained the 12-foot birdie putt on the final hole to become the champion golfer of the year and take home the claret jug that Xander says he hated to give up after the year he had it in his possession. Well, sort of had it in his possession, that's what here. Before the tournament got underway, Xander met with the media to reflect on his love for links golf, the highs of winning, and what really drives him. Here's a bit of that conversation covering his first links experience as a 13-year-old with some mates and, of course, his father, driving the lads 16 hours to the closest links golf test on the West Coast, Bandon Dunes in Oregon. Credit to R&A TV, courtesy of the official theopen.com website.
We played 3 or 4 days in a row. I think it was just Pacific Dunes and Bandon Dunes at the time, and We got the real weather. My rain gear stopped working, so it was that much wind and rain, and I had a blast. I had, as much as it was nice to look forward to a hot shower at the end of the day, I had so much fun for some reason trying to figure out how to play golf in that weather. Even to this day, you look at guys who grow up in Canada or overseas in Europe, it'll be windy and cold, and I always saw guys would shoot 6 or 7 under, and I'm like, how are these people doing this? You know what I mean? So it was always a battle for me, knowing that if I want to be a well-rounded player, I need to learn how to do it. So maybe I went into it with that mentality, but I always thought it was a lot of fun. I was in Portugal with my wife at a beach. I was pretty happy there. Wasn't really thinking much about winning a tournament the week before, just was like, wow, this is really nice. Kind of reminds me of San Diego, actually. At some point, I'm sure I'll look back on my career, but, I just, I don't have any trophies in my house. I don't really think about winning. I think in order to be if you're really competitive, you just think about how to get better and you think about what's next.
Even with that success, Xander keeps things grounded, with help from his former Aztecs teammate, Austin Kaiser. That's his longtime caddy. And also, there's a bit of a revelation about what he does or doesn't do with all that hardware he has picked up over the years.
I regret this at times, but I told Austin he'll never get fired for something he says to me. That was a mistake. I feel like I should have maybe reworded that back then. I know I put myself in his shoes, and I want him to give me his honest advice. I trust him. He played golf. He's a good player. So when I ask him for his advice, tell me what you think. And we know each other's tendencies when we play golf as well. So, whether he hits his putts harder than I do, so he's always on maybe a little bit lower read, things of that nature. But I just told him, I'm not going to fire you because you thought it was this and I thought it was that. And then if I was right, that's not going to be the difference maker. So there's a lot of variables in golf, and Austin's a great guy. He's a great caddy. He's one of my best friends, and I think if you can keep your caddy as a constant, it's an advantage.
Doug, last question.
You don't have any trophies?
No.
Where are they?
At my parents' house, probably in a bank vault. I think that's where some of the one of the trophies was. When they travel,
Including the gold medal?
I actually have no idea where that is, to be completely honest.
It's great to know.
Yeah.
Why don't you?
What am I going to do with it? I don't really invite people over to my house, so what am I just go look at it myself? Oh yeah. You know what I mean? That's just that's how I feel about it. It's I'm not going to walk into a trophy room and be like, oh, look how great I am. You know what I mean? I think I was just raised to think that way, and it's kind of stuck. I really don't sit at home and, you know what I mean? My wife hung up some pictures of me in my gym of me winning the Olympic medal, and she put it so high up I can't reach it, and I have to get a ladder now, and it bothers me. If anything, put up me in a Masters jacket, that would piss me off. You know what I mean? Something like that is more motivating than all right, that's not great. I don't want to look at that. You know what I mean?
What would you rather be up on the wall?
Photo of my dogs or nothing. A clock, maybe. I'm always late, so maybe a clock would be good for me.
So, Randy, there is your mindset of a champion, not looking back, always ahead. For Xander, a proud Aztec who met his wife at San Diego State, still in his early 30s, figuring he's got more than a decade left of high-level golf left in him. Just one other little note about that claret jug. Apparently, Xander says he did a little bit of wine out of it and some tequila. And someone asked him, because he's not a big drinker, says, more of a cigar smoker. Someone asked him, hey, did you do the lime and the salt with that? And he goes, no, that claret jug's kind of funny shaped, and you can't really get the top open to do that. But he did say he was bummed to have to give it up. Anyhow, that's the end of the golf stuff. We got Aztecs football, right?
Yeah, and you're talking about the beverages there. Obviously, an SDSU grad there, getting mixed in there. Correct. So for football, I don't know about you. I'm pretty excited about the Pac-12 getting going, and also the quality, I think, of opposition that's coming in. Even though the Big 12 decided they were going to do the co-sponsor with Monster Energy, we're still waiting for Allstate to be the official sponsor of the new Pac-12.
Allstate.
That's right. Well, they're all states, as you know.
Correct, yeah.
And there's a lot of great schools coming in. And, just today we'll kind of give you some broad strokes. We'll be breaking down the team a lot in our future episodes. One thing I would say from the very outset, that we're very familiar with most of the teams in this conference. Don't overlook Texas State. I was actually there back in a while ago.
In San Marcos.
I was in San Marcos for a FCS playoff game when they played Cal Poly. Got an opportunity to do that. And that obviously a very ascendant program. The conference getting into Texas, I think, is a really nice step. And the opportunity for all schools to recruit. I think, with that, we need to watch them. I mean, even though you figure that Boise State and the Aztecs are the ones you really want to think about, but we also know that at this point, we really don't know. But we do have some interesting coaching changes this year. Jim Mora, after getting UConn off the deck, is in at Colorado State. Jamarcus Shepard came over cross country from Alabama. He's going to try and clean things up in Corvallis because the Beavers just had a horrendous season last year, finishing 2-10. You look at Matt Entz in Fresno coming up, and having that strong North Dakota State pedigree, going 9-4 in his first year, and Bronco Mendenhall, a proven winner, turning things around back in the state of Utah at Utah State. They're right about 500. Meanwhile, the Aztecs, some turnover, but part of that comes from success, as Rob Arich left to go to Nebraska, took a couple studs with him, not surprisingly, but Demetrius Sumler, so they're keeping it internal, stepping up, and some other new assistants, Matthew Middleton, Bill O'Boyle, Scott White, and Colin Farrell. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens because it is definitely the cream of the Mountain West that moved over because, you look at the 5 teams from the Mountain West who came over. 4 of those 500 or better. CSU, the outlier, right there at the bottom, but I think with Mora and a lot of the investment they've been making in that program, I don't think that's going to last for a long time. And also just the schedule this year is interesting. I mean, sure, there's an FCS team with Portland State to open up, but I think
always is. Right?
It is. But FCS, there's been some really good football because, as you mentioned earlier, I did do 10 years of FCS football, and I think it's also going to be an opportunity for us to see some of the newcomers. I have a feeling we're going to see Stone Saunders in that game. I think they're going to get him some game reps early on, but keeping UCLA on the schedule is always nice. JMU, I thought that was a nice coup, and Toledo's a solid program. So I think that, in all the, conference games is going to be really nice. I think a couple things, we can talk about in the future that I'm really looking at are, what is the offense going to look like? There are a lot of pieces back actually on offense, including Bert Emanuel Jr. We saw what he could do in the bowl game. Is he going to be like a triple threat? Is he going to line up a receiver, have him do some fly sweeps, some pass plays, obviously downfield? You've got Denegal in there who's, shown what he can do, especially if he's healthy. So there's a lot of pieces back on offense. We'll talk eventually about defense and special teams. But overall, I think it's going to be a lot of fun talking Aztec football this year.
Yes, it'll be fun once they get started with the actual fall camp, which will begin early August. So that's coming up.
Absolutely. Take a look at the depth chart and take it from there.
Well, let's move on now and talk about some stuff related to academics, as I have here. Grades still matter. The spring 2026 semester showcased outstanding academic performances across Aztec athletics. A record number of student athletes earned Scholar Athlete honors with GPAs of 3.2 or higher. Dozens posted perfect 4.0 semesters. Men's soccer and swimming and diving led the way with the highest team GPAs, but athletes from all spring sports represented in the mix. Special recognition goes to the 49 student athletes who achieved a flawless 4.0 GPA. That's proof elite performance on the field and the classroom can go hand in hand. And yes, grades do count in college. They impact your eligibility, scholarships, graduation, even future professional opportunities. So good on San Diego State to continue to emphasize the student in the student-athlete model in this day and age. And these numbers show the program delivering on both fronts. One more special mention of a special Aztec who earned first-team academic All-American honors. Yenna Fireman, track and field star heptathlete, earned the honors. That's the third straight season Yenna has earned such honors. In pursuit of a graduate degree in mass comm, posting that perfect 4.0 GPA this year. In track and field, competing in the 7 grueling events that make up the heptathlon, that she dominated the Mountain West with a third consecutive title, setting the all-time Mountain West heptathlon record. She won her third conference gold, earned second-team All-American honors at the 2026 NCAA Outdoor Championships. Here's Jenna from a 2024 appearance on Aztecs All In, talking with me about the unique demands of the heptathlon and her approach to the competition. Typically 4 events on day 1. 100-meter hurdles, the high jump, shot put, 200 meters. And then the last 3 events on day 2, the long jump, javelin throw, 800 meters. So boy, I asked her right off the top what it was like competing in such a grueling set of events over those 2 days.
Yeah, that's a good question. Definitely fulfilled and going through a lot of emotions. But I always feel just satisfied in the end and just wow, I really did that. The last 2 days were a challenge, but I overcame it. And I'm always tired after, but not even for that long. It's more just the adrenaline kicking in about the celebration afterwards.
I have to issue a hat tip. Maybe could you take us through one of the track events and then whatever your favorite field event is, and what sort of discipline is required and what sort of things you're working on as you're trying to compete in those events?
So for the track event, it's kind of even hard to differentiate because I would say in all of the events there's a lot of trust and confidence needed and also perseverance. But I'm going to pick the 200 meter for the track event. I've been really working on my speed the last couple of years, and I would say basically going into the 200, it's kind of like a long sprint. It's not the 100, which is kind of more comfortable. You just sprint and it's already over. For the 200 is more of a basically setting the race up the right way. It's all out all the time, but it's about staying really calm and confident throughout the whole race with your posture and everything. And then when it comes to something like shot put or javelin, it's all about really trusting the technique and hitting the right positions before you can release that final adrenaline, power, energy that you have in your arm and your legs. So it's a lot of timing and trust, and that's all built within the workouts for me.
It seems like something that you would have to be adept at a number of different skill levels in order to be competitive in all those events. You have to be able to run pretty fast and powerfully and have a little bit of cardio endurance. And then also for those field events, you have to have a little coordination and some strength as well.
Yeah, so basically the HEP, it's we always call it the queen and king event of track and field because you are basically the sum of all the events that really exist, or at least of most of them that exist, and you kind of try to cover all the abilities that a track athlete has or is supposed to have. I would generally say that you try to be as balanced as possible, but definitely focus on your strengths to not get lost in your weaknesses. For me personally, I've always been pretty balanced in all of the events because I think that's also my advantage, that I am really balanced in all of the events, but definitely my potential is in the sprints and then also in the distance. So just the running events especially. The technical things, since I grew up in Europe, we focus a lot on technique. So that's kind of where my background is from. But yeah, definitely it is all about being as balanced as possible and also just being able to adapt to a specific situation.
So Jenna, a balance of elite athletic performance, academic excellence, and resilience to post that perfect 4.0 and land that All-American honor. Coached by Shalila Burrell, a 2-time Olympian in the heptathlon in her own right, entering her 16th season, leading the Aztecs. How about that, Randy?
That's great, and I've seen her compete. I'm also a track official and got an opportunity.
Well, you get around. Huh?
I do, and I got to officiate one of her meets where she had a really strong heptathlon performance, and just going to the Nationals is a great accomplishment. So great way to represent the Aztecs there. As we take a look at another Aztec sport that I think is really on the rise, and that is women's soccer. It's one of the teams I've had the opportunity to do, and you can catch the live streams through the athletic site. They're going to have the first game in the Pac-12 era. They're going to have an exhibition at the Sports Deck against USC. That's going to be happening the evening of August the 5th. That's the first of 10 home matches this year. And they're coming off a season where they were 9-4-7. They finished 4th in the Mountain West, actually got to the semifinals of the tournament. And they did it, though, actually with a very young team. There was only one senior who moved on. That was Grace Goins. but they're returning a really solid core. You have Kayla Carlin out of Chula Vista, came in as a true freshman, played every single minute at goal, and had that winning record. 8 starters from the end of last season are back, and also most of the scoring, 22 of the 29 goals. There were a couple transfers who took those other 7 goals, but you have the top scorers, Victoria Miller, who came over from Ohio State last year, and Alexis Leith. Katie Sen, who's the assist leader, is back as well. So it's going to be a good core because you also have 8 players who started at least 17 of the 20 games in there. A lot of those mentioned, including Lily Boudet, who has been a great contributor for the team as well. Coaching-wise, it's interesting. Mike Friesen, entering his 20th season, got win 200 last year, 204 after those first 19 years. That was the most in Mountain West history. Now we can start some new history in the Pac-12. Brought in a couple new assistants this year. Matt Hall, who is a former Aztec goalkeeper and former Aztec men's assistant. He'd been coaching over at USD and is now the associate head coach. And Kai Edwards, coming over after 6 years as the head coach of Southern Utah, is going to join the staff. But this is a staff that does expect to go further. During their Mountain West history, the Aztecs made 25 of 26 Mountain West tournaments, and they brought in 10 newcomers. They did lose some folks, but again, most of the contributors are back. You're also looking at, again, a league where the competition is going to be strong. When we talked about football, I think the baseball conference is going to be strong as well. Were 4 of the top 6 seeds in the Mountain West last year are now in the Pac-12. Aztecs were 4th. They played Boise State in the semis. They lost on penalty kicks, went to overtime, and that was at Boise in November. So I thought that was a pretty good showing overall. So it's going to be a pretty strong schedule within conference. Also some good non-conference action, especially right after that USC matchup. They're going to have an exhibition over at USD. Then they open the season on the road at UCSD, home opener against the University of Washington on the 19th, and making trips to Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. So this is a team that's going to challenge itself very early on. But again, very young team, has a lot coming back. So I think there's a lot of optimism, I think, going into Mike Friesen's 20th season.
Right, and don't they have that official Pac-12 opener at Snapdragon Stadium against Boise State? Is that on the schedule?
I believe it is. There will always be, as you know, men's and women's soccer as well as a cross-play game at Snapdragon each year. So it's really going to be a great opportunity for people to come out and see the team. I mean, the sports deck is neat. It's convenient. But, you know, hey, there's nothing like Snapdragon.
And we have one more note about basketball. Is that the final cherry on top of this Sunday?
Well, Steve, it's interesting that, you know, SDSU and BYU have had some great matchups in many sports, and BYU has been a real strong basketball program for many years, as have been the Aztecs. So it's great that they're going to continue to play. It was just announced that they will be going to your old stomping grounds, Palm Desert, for the Acrisure Series at Acrisure Arena. That's probably not a coincidence. On Saturday, December the 19th. So as Coach Dutcher is trying to get a good, strong non-conference schedule and not play people at altitude, this is a really nice opportunity also to get the Aztecs into a market that does not have a Division I team and make some more Aztec fans, but also I think it's going to be good quality competition because, again, a lot of newcomers this year for Aztec basketball. You know, we remain optimistic, but I think it's good to, you know, get them out there on a neutral court against a good team and get as many of those games as you can.
Yeah, have been by that arena many times, have not stopped by, so maybe an opportunity to do that this year.
Absolutely, and they're even on the website here. If you go to the Aztec website, there's special room codes that you can click in there. So again, if you want to make it a weekend, and especially as far as, you know, students are concerned, that should be the end of the semester. So, hey, go check out the Aztecs, go to Palm Desert, and make a weekend of it.
Right. When we started the podcast out, talk about golf, lots of high-quality, high-caliber golf courses out in the desert. You can go there and have yourself a ball, probably play a different golf course every day, and probably still be playing by the end of the year. Okay, why don't you talk us out of this one, Randy? Thank you very much for this first episode with you.
Well, thank you. It's great to be had, and really great to be back in San Diego and talking Aztec sports, continuing to go to the events as I do, go to all the football and all the basketball games, and just to talk all the sports with you and hopefully provide some insights from the games that I'll be calling this year for the athletic department.
Okay, Randy, typically this is the part where the co-host says goodbye
Bye.
and gives the Aztecs All In at gmail.com address where you can drop us a line if you have anything you want us to check out. Or
Let me guess, is it Aztecs All In at gmail.com?
That's correct. And
awesome. And on X, is it Aztecs All In?
No, it's Aztecs _.
Ooh, the underscore makes all the difference.
In. At X, formerly Twitter, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
And
X marks the spot.
And then finally, this is the part where you kind of hit the post.
Okay.
You know, where the sounder's coming up and it's going dun, 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 dun,
I did that for many years, you know.
Right, you hit the post and then you say, and we'll talk to you again sometime soon.
And we'll talk to you again sometime soon.